Yo, okay, so I'm back. I was gone for a little bit, my apologies. I was putting on a show for my high school theater and also, well, graduating. So I didn't have a lot of time for videos. But now that I'm back, I think I have something that you're going to like. Photoshop's generative AI tool has gotten scary. It works crazy well, and most of the time, when you use it the right way, you really can't even tell it's been used. Which got me thinking, could I set up a shot and then change certain areas and certain aspects of the shot to be whatever I want by using Photoshop's generative AI? Imagine if you have a person by a lake, except the lake is fake, and the ground is fake, and the sky is fake, everything is fake. My point is, I've drawn up several shots where I can change the area around me to become whatever I want. And then of course, I'll explain to you exactly how to do it yourself. The first shot was a basic one. It's pretty much just me sitting on a bench, and then I wanted to make the forest in front of me turn into a bunch of skyscrapers. The shot itself was easy to set up. It took about 5 minutes of just moving the camera to figure out how I want it to be framed. And then I think the most important thing to note here is to make sure that you use a tripod and make sure that you don't bump the tripod while you're shooting, because that will completely throw off the entire effect. Once I had the shot set up, here's what it turned into. This took about 20 minutes of messing around in Photoshop, and I think it turned out really well. The way this effect works is simple. What you're going to do is take your camera, put it on a tripod, and make sure you do not move it. Now, after you get your shot, what you're going to do is take your footage, make it big, and then take a screenshot of that footage. Make sure that when you take the screenshot, it's on like a 4K monitor, or else when you take the screenshot, if it's on like 1080p, but you capture 4K footage, then it won't be high resolution and you'll tell that is fake. After you have your screenshot, take it into Photoshop and then mask around the area that you want to change. It's important to remember that the area that you mask, your character cannot walk in that part. So for instance, if your character is here and then you create the mask here, your character cannot get up and then walk over there. The character has to stay separate from wherever the mask is. Usually it's a good idea to leave yourself a little bit of room to feather the mask. That way it kind of blends together instead of just a sharp cut. However, I guess you don't have to do that. Here's an example of using this in a slightly different way. This is me sitting in a tree, but I'm not actually that high up. I climbed the tree, but then I used generative AI to make it look like I was actually much higher than I actually was. Now, one little tip here is you're probably not going to be able to do the entire thing in one go. You're probably going to have to do a couple layers of generative AI until you get a scene that you like. You're probably not going to get it all in one try. I also created a shot where I'm sitting on my roof and then I changed the whole sky to be a castle. Yes, a castle. I also took green screen birds and then put those in and lowered the opacity where they blended in a little bit better. And this actually turned out really well. I feel like I could have taken that in many different directions. Okay, so for this final shot, I'm just gonna say it. I went crazy. I had this idea of a floating island. There's haze everywhere. I had this idea of a floating island, but I didn't have a place where I could stand up all the way. So I had to use basically me right in front of my fence. This one absolutely took the longest for me to generate. I discovered that the more obscure the thing is, the harder it is for Photoshop to understand what you're saying and for Photoshop to do what you want it to do. My biggest tip for you, if you're explaining what you want it to do and it's not getting it right, don't try saying the same thing over and over again. Instead, change your wording or change your idea to where you can describe it easier to help Photoshop understand what you want. When I first did this shot, it put a swimming pool there and I didn't like that. However, I changed the wording and then I changed certain things around the shot and eventually I got that shot and it turns out really well. I think there is a lot of room for creativity here. You can literally create anything you want as long as you can describe it properly. I would say try it yourself and see what you can come up with and what you can do, because you can get really creative with this. Also, if you want to subscribe because you learned something new, that would help me out a lot. Thank you. Also, you can watch this video or this video because I think you will enjoy them, and I will see you guys later.